I'd like to welcome everyone to the Planning Commission of the City of Huntsville for the December 20th, 2016 meeting, the last meeting of the year. And I'll just start by wishing everybody happy holidays, and hope that everyone has a safe and joyful holiday. I'm Janet Watson. I'm chairman of the Planning Commission, and I'd like to start by introducing our other members. DJ?
TJ Mears.
Carlos Matthews.
Donna Hendricks.
Lafreda Jordan.
Gary Whitley.
Sally Warden.
I'm Les Tillery.
Devin Keith.
Kelly Scrimshire.
Captain Jeffrey Rice.
Michelle Jordan, Planning Director.
Okay, and we have Cynthia Anderson behind us. She's with the legal department, and she makes sure that what we do meets the letter of the law. So if we have a question about anything, we just rely on Claudia. I'm sorry, I said Cynthia. I meant Claudia Anderson. We rely on Claudia to straighten us out and keep us on track legally. There are a lot of people here, and I will say that we are always glad for people to be here and to speak about their concerns about their neighborhoods and about neighborhoods throughout Huntsville as they come before us. We'll have our first items on the agenda will be the public hearings, and we ask that if you have a concern about your neighborhood, that you take one of the microphones at either side of the room and give your name and address for the record. Then listen carefully to what the other people from your neighborhood and the community say, and try not to repeat it. We unfortunately today we have to relinquish the room to the Board of Zoning Adjustment. So at their meeting scheduled at 6 o'clock, and hopefully we can make that. If not, we'll get a lot of people in here. So with that being said, we'll proceed. Our first item of business is adoption of minutes from November 22nd. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Were there any additions or corrections? All in favor of approval of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Item 1 is public hearings. One is Overland Cove Phase 3, a re-subdivision of lots 128 through 151 of Overland Cove Phase 2. Thomas Nunez, would you give us the information we need on that?
Yes, ma'am. Overland Cove Phase 3 is a resub of Phase 2. This item is located northwest city, north of Plummer Road and east of Indian Creek. It is zoned R2 and is approximately 2.41 acres. This item was final platted in August of 2014 in the Overland Cove Phase 2. It was originally platted as townhomes, essentially 5 buildings consisting of 24 lots. This way, the developer is re-subdividing these to be single family, as you kind of see from the depiction on the plat, from 24 units to now 13 single family units.
Is there anyone here to comment on Overland Cove Phase 3? Hearing no comments, the public hearing is closed. Our next item is Pebble Creek Phase 4 at River Landing.
Pebble Creek Phase 4 at River Landing is zoned R2 and is approximately 101 acres. It does abut the Wildlife Refuge. It is located southwest city, west of Zert Road and north of Beadle Lane. This item was originally laid out in November of 2003 and is before you for a relayout of 260 lots and a preliminary of 51 lots. Phase 3 was final platted in November of 2016, and this goes forward with the further development of Phase 4.
Is there anyone here tonight to comment on Pebble Creek Phase 4 at River Landing?
Ms. Watt, I'm Al Jimerson. I'm the lawyer for the Airport Authority. Whenever a development is this close to the airport, we're always concerned about noise and that sort of thing. I'm not positive, I'm not clear whether any portion of Pebble Creek would lie in the airport's noise exposure area, but in the event that it turns out that it does, we would request that any approval be conditioned upon a navigation easement in favor of the airport authority, just showing that the area would be subject to overflights and noise and the effects that are pursuant to being that close to the airport.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jimerson. Do you have anything else for us? Okay. If you will remain, we may have some questions for you when we get to the discussion phase. Is there anyone else here to comment on Pebble Creek? Hearing no further comments, the public hearing is closed. Our next item is PROPST subdivision, a re-subdivision of East Huntsville Edition, Block 98.
PROPST subdivision is located Northwest City, north of Wellman Avenue and west of England Street. This item is zone R1C and originally consisted of 2 lots. It was before you for a September approval in September of 2015. This item is now before you for a relayout of 3 lots and preliminary of 3 lots.
Is there anyone here to comment on PROPST subdivision, re-subdivision of East Huntsville Edition, Block 98? Hearing no comment, the public hearing is closed. Our next item is SEGERS Trail subdivision.
Segers Trail subdivision is zoned R2 and is approximately 32.5 acres. This item is located Southwest City, north of Interstate 565 and west of Segers Road. This item was before you originally for a layout in September of 2016 that was approved and was denied for preliminary in November of 2016. This item is before you for elimination of 2 stubs that would have connected to Old Cobblestone. This item no longer connects to Old Cobblestone, is now in relayout and preliminary order.
Okay, thank you. We're open for public comment on Segers Trail subdivision. Sir, would you give us your name and address?
Aaron Wigley, 28668 Old Stone Road, Madison.
Okay.
I'd like to thank you for listening to our concerns last month and sending this back to committee to be revised. We do thank you for that and for listening to us. Our attorney had a schedule conflict tonight and could not be here. We've talked to the landowner next door who owns the property. We think that the way the new layout is, it will benefit both subdivisions equally in their own for safety concerns. And I'd like anybody from Old Cobblestone here to raise their hand who is with us tonight. Would anybody else like to take the mic and speak?
Did I see someone else to speak? Yes, sir. Thank you,
I'll turn
Mr.
it over.
Wrigley.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ed Collins,
I'm sorry, would you repeat your name and give us
Ed
your address?
Collins, 28658 Garden Hills Road, Northwest. I do appreciate the opportunity to have this looked at again. Procedural-wise, I'm a little rusty, not even rusty, but there's a lot about your processes I don't understand. I've been doing this in Madison for quite some time, and but this layout that we're looking at right now, I'm assuming this is not final. There's still opportunity for give and take, and for someone to come back in and say, no, we don't like this, and it might get changed again. Am I correct?
Well, we're being asked to approve the preliminary relayout approval tonight and give preliminary approval on 57 lots.
Okay.
So once we give that, then that becomes final in a way that the developer can go ahead with his work, his or her work,
Right.
and it will come back for final approval. But then, that's not really a good time. If there's still anything that is out of the ordinary about this that you want to discuss, this is the time to do it.
No, I'm pleased with the phase second layout on it.
To actually answer your question, what happens is if there was ever a change in the layout or the second phase preliminary,
All right.
in the adjacent property owners will be notified of said change, and at that time, that would be the only change.
Right. Okay, but not tonight.
Correct.
Okay. One of the things I'd also like to bring up for your consideration, you mentioned the adjacent owners. I'd like for you to take a look at your procedures. I know you only have to notify so many people, but there's a lot of things going on these days, and we're all stakeholders. Our community associations are stakeholders, yet we're not really included in the initial part of these discussions, only on the tail end. It could have saved a lot of difficulty, a lot of problems, if we had that opportunity. And I'd be happy to provide further information on that. I'm also the director of the Alabama Concerned Homeowners Alliance, www.alabamahoa.org. I've been involved as consumer advocate for HOAs for about 12 years, and there's a lot of problems. But again, maybe we could solve this one. So I would ask you to consider that.
I'm going to ask Claudia Anderson, our legal representative, to answer your question about our specific notification procedure and when that occurs.
Excuse me, I do know when it occurs and what the regulation is. I'm talking about changing it.
We provide notification in accordance with state law, and in addition, should there be any other additional notification, that would be just as a courtesy, and that would be something that the planning staff and the planning commission may want to consider, but it would be an additional something that's not
Right.
required of state law.
Yeah, and I've heard that. I'm sorry not to take off on that, but I have heard that before, and I should have mentioned that I would ask this as a courtesy for the city of Huntsville, because you have a lot going on, and you have a lot of stakeholders here that would like to be involved initially. So thank you very much again.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I probably ran over there.
No, that's perfectly all right. We appreciate hearing your concerns, and those, since it would be a courtesy, then that's something that you should address with the planning department going forward on a personal basis. Is there anyone else here to comment on SEGERS Trail? Hearing no further comments, the public hearing is closed. Our next item is Summit at Providence.
Summit at Providence is located Northwest City, north of Old Monrovia Road and west of Johns Road. This item was before you for a September 2016 layout approval and is moving forward for a preliminary approval. This item is zone C4 and is approximately 11.46 acres.
Is there anyone here to comment on Summit at Providence? Hearing no comment, the public hearing is closed. This is also presented for final approval? No?
That's in voting, so.
Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, on the wrong page. Okay, our next item is location, character, and extent, pinpoints of interest.
Pinpoints of interest is located in Central City in various locations. I'll turn over to Bob Rogers of the Huntsville-Madison County Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Good evening. How's everybody? I am with this Convention and Visitors Bureau, and as you know, we're here to help create and support economic growth throughout the city and in our area for meeting planners, individual travelers, all sorts of people, whether they're coming into Huntsville or whether they're here. So we have recently booked, it's been about a year now, it's called TBEX, Travel Bloggers Exchange. It's the largest travel bloggers conference in the world, and the first week of May, we're going to have 800 to 1,000 bloggers in town. So this is kind of a unique group because they will be here like any other convention. They'll come in, they'll enjoy our restaurants, our hotels, different attractions, but these will all write about it. And then we'll get a lot of play after the group is here. So we're looking forward to showing them everything we have to do in Huntsville and have them write about the different things. Well, this sign here is one of, we think about 20 signs that we're going to use around town, or we would like to use around town, to get them to move around the city, see what different things we have to offer, and hopefully spur their interest, and so they can write some content on Huntsville and get the word out on what a great place we are. So again, this is one sign. For instance, would be if somebody's downtown and they run across one of these signs, say they're looking at something to do with art. We could put if you go to the website, which is the huntsville.org, you are here, #1, that would be that website. And it would talk about where they are, what they're seeing. And then we could also send them over to maybe the sculpture trail or Low Mill or different aspects of the community and try to get them involved in that so they can write about that as well. And this would be great for local people who don't know as much as maybe they should in Huntsville. So it's an opportunity to show people in Huntsville what else they can look at and see around the area. Now the signs we're talking about, again, this is the look of it. Here's a copy of, this is about the size it would be and the colors and the shape it would be. We have used them in the past. They're a heavy-duty sign. We use them for welcoming groups quite a bit. We use them at the airport. We use them in front of hotels. We use them at the Von Braun Center. So we're accustomed to using them. They can go on the ground. They're slip-resistant. They're very adhesive. They're not going to come up, and they will stick to pretty much anything, including sidewalks and the like. So again, we're looking for your approval. Hopefully we can get out and promote all the different things we have in our community and get a lot of travel bloggers to write about it. So, any questions?
Yes, I would like to allow people in the audience to comment or ask questions. Mrs. Reed, will you give us your name and address?
Jackie Reed, 303 Jack Coleman Drive. The signs look good, and I'm glad that you're promoting this. Are they going to be on the buildings? They're going to be on signs on the grounds? And is that the only signs, the way they all look, that you're going to... It says points of interest. It don't say where or who, or it don't really go into too much details, and then I see the signs. So are you going to put them on the buildings or on the ground or paint them somewhere like the fish? Or, I mean, I'm just concerned.
Yeah, okay, well, the answer to your question is yes. So there probably will be some on the buildings where we can, provided we get approval. And then secondly, we'd like to get these on the sidewalks as well in front of certain places. And we're thinking attractions, Low Mill, the Space and Rocket Center, Harrison Brothers Hardware. I mean, they will be in about 20 different locations, and depending on the best application is what we will put them with. But yeah, and they're not going to be there forever. These aren't painted on there. Again, they're stickers. They're highly adhesive. They're not going to come up. And if it's better on the ground, which we think in many cases it is, that's where we'd like to put them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. Is there anyone else here for that would like to comment or ask questions about the pinpoints of interest? Hearing no further comment, the public hearing is closed. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Our next item is Alabama A&M New Residence Hall. Thomas, are you?
Yes, ma'am. Alabama A&M University is a new residence hall located northeast city, north of Chase Road and west of Meridian Street. I'll turn over to Jerry Cargill Forsythe for a presentation.
You know what? I need you to take the mic. And okay, that's good. And okay,
All right, Jerry Cargyle, Foresight. We're civil engineer and landscape architect on the project, working with the architect and university. As Thomas said, this is a new proposed co-ed residence hall to be constructed on the existing campus. You see the rendering up on the screen there from the street side. This is just north of the existing student rec wellness center, if you're familiar with where that is. Be approximately 572 total beds, different unit types in the building. Again, that's the location of the site. There was an existing facility on the site that's not been in use for some time, and this would be developed on that property. So I have the project architect here as well. If there's any questions that I can't answer, then he'd be happy to answer those.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone here to comment on the Alabama A&M new residence hall? Hearing no comments, public hearing's closed, but if you can stay around, Mr. Cargill, we may have some questions as we have the panel meeting. Our next item is zoning. Beadle Lane rezoning has been withdrawn. And the next item under zoning is MAHAFFEY rezoning. I'm sorry. Okay. Beadle, is there anyone here to comment on Beadle Lane rezoning? Even though it's withdrawn, we can take comments tonight. And if you came for the hearing and it didn't come up, watch for it. It may come back up next month. We will leave that item open. So our next item is MAHAFFEY rezoning. Ashley Nichols.
This rezoning request is a total of 100.3 acres. The property is currently zoned Residence 1B. The rezoning request is to rezone a portion of the Residence 1B from 1B to Highway Business C4 District and also Planned Industrial District. The acreage for the Highway Business C4 District is approximately 26 acres, and the acreage for the Planned Industrial District is approximately 77 acres. The applicant would like to add an existing buffer to existing planned industrial that he owns to the east of this property. So basically that 77 acres will pretty much shield the Residence 1B portion from the planned industrial, and the commercial designation will hopefully provide a future opportunity for commercial uses within this area.
Is there anyone here to comment on MAHAFFEY rezoning? Hearing no comments, the public hearing is closed. Our next item is Davis Circle rezoning. Ashley.
This property is located downtown. It is on the north side of Davis Circle and east of Dr. Joseph Lowry Boulevard. This property is currently zoned Medical District. The petitioner would like to request that this property be rezoned from Medical District to General Business C3 District, which is consistent with the remaining zoning designations downtown. And this property is approximately 2.1 acres.
Is there anyone here to comment on the Davis Circle rezoning? Yes, Ms. Reed.
Jackie Reed, I just have one question. When you change the zoning from medical district to whatever you're doing, is the hospital notified? Or do they care, or does it matter? They're always wanting more property. But they need to stay within their area instead of trying to reach and get people's houses. I just wondered if you notified the hospital and they're aware of such a thing.
Yes, Ms. Reed, there was public hearing notifications were sent out to all property owners within a 500-foot radius, and the Huntsville Hospital does own property within this area, so they were notified of this proposed rezoning request. This property is currently a vacant church, or soon to be vacant church, and the proposed user that would like to go into this site cannot have their particular use within the medical district zoning designation, which is primarily limited to medical uses only.
Thank you. Any further questions? Any further comment on Davis Circle rezoning? Hearing no comment, the public hearing is closed. Our next item is BOMAN zoning. Ashley.
This property is approximately 1.26 acres. This property is a newly annexed piece of land. The proposed zoning designation for this property is Residence 1B, which is consistent with several of the other adjacent subdivisions that are located on the east and west sides of Old Big Cove Road.
Is there anyone here to comment on the BOMAN rezoning? Hearing no comments, the public hearing is closed. Our next portion of the meeting will be subdivision presentation and discussion of the Planning Commission, and Les, do you have zoning, don't you? And Kelly, would you do the subdivision committee report, please?
Thank you. Be glad to. Let's see. Let me grab the other document. Right here. Thank you. The subdivision committee met on December 14th and has the following recommendations. Overland Cove Phase 3, it's a re-subdivision of lots 128 through 151 of Overland Cove Phase 2. The committee recommends layout and preliminary approval on 13 lots.
Move to approve.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Pebble Creek Phase 4 at River Landing. The committee recommends relayout approval on 260 lots and preliminary approval on 51 lots with the following modification. Cul-de-sac length along Street A to 824 feet, along Street B to 867 feet, along Street C to 984 feet, along Street D to 984 feet, along Street E to 962 feet.
Do I hear a motion? Is there a second? Okay, we're open for discussion on Pebble Creek.
Madam Chair, I'd like to start the discussion. Is there anyone here that can tell me if phases 1 through 3 of this development are a part of the airport noise area, and is there this abrogation already in existence on the existing phases?
It is.
It's Jim McGuffey, Planning Department. As far as we know, phases 1 through 3 do not have it. Staff will review to make sure if this phase needs it, that the developer will grant it to the airport authority to cover all the bases of the abrogation easement.
So if phases 1 through 3 do not have this, if I'm remembering the noise map correctly, what would subject phase 4 to this?
Phase 4 is no further west or closer to the airport than phases 1 through 3. So if phases 1 through 3, in fact, do not have it, I see no reason for phase 4 to have it. It's no closer to the runway and it's no further linearly west than the phases to the south.
So should we hold this item until we can confirm that? That's a question.
Based on my review through through the plans themselves, the easement kind of just buffers right across the passing, and it crosses this property here that was preliminary platted for the arbors at River Landing in November of 2014. It just comes across this property but does not touch neither one of these phases 1, 2, 3, or 4.
So then the teal rectangle in the front, what is that?
This is the relayout portion. There was a portion that was relayed out for a tie to the adjacent property. This was the BEADLE Lane rezoning property. So based off that rezoning, if that rezoning was to go forth, This portion would turn into residential, therefore we requested a tie to that particular development for future connectivity for both neighborhoods.
But phase 4 then is the orange color,
That would be correct.
and then the teal portion is
Was
that
a relayout of some other phases that have not been done, which was
phase
a
5.
phase 5, 6, 7, so on
9,
and so
whatever.
forth. Exactly.
Okay.
Have there been complaints about noise from the houses that are built in, or any houses built in the previous phases?
In our department, we haven't received any phone calls. I'm not sure if the our airport authority has received any phone calls regarding this matter, but our department has not.
Yeah, I would be interested in knowing why the airport authority sees it as a problem with this particular phase. Mr. Jefferson.
Well, you know, it's just the situation that, Ms. Watson, the FAA, the airport, doesn't see much of a distinction between mobile homes and apartments and single-family residences. We do from time to time get complaints from homeowners about the noise, and it's generally, you know, where you have overflights late at night, where you have families with sick family members or small children. But the fact is, those subdivisions will be there for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And, you know, even though the noise may not be of major concern now, it's only going to grow and get worse in the future. And what we're trying to do is to protect as much of the property in the noise exposure area as we possibly can. I think it's important for purchasers to know where the property is in relation to the airport, to know whether or not it's in the noise exposure area. And frankly, the navigation easement that we are requesting for any property that's in the noise exposure area would not just protect the airport authority, but it would protect the city. It would give some protection to the developer and to the builders. You know, it just basically puts the world on notice that, you know, the property that you're looking at is in the noise exposure zone.
And the easement that you mentioned, what did you call the easement?
Navigation easement.
Could you define that? Tell us what that is.
Sure. It is a document that conveys from the owner of the property to the airport authority, its successors, and assigns certain rights. Number one, it's recorded, so it's noticed to the world that the property is in the noise impact area. But the main thing that it does is to state that there will be no construction any higher than a certain number of feet above mean sea level, so we won't have problems with getting into approaches or takeoff areas. It states that the owners of the property won't do anything to hamper airport operations, such as lighting, smoke, electronic interference, that sort of thing.
Do you know what that height limitation is?
Frankly, no, but not exactly. We would be able to calculate it. It certainly would not be anything that would restrict a developer of single-family residences. It would not be over 2 stories, generally 3 stories. And Ms. Watson, it's much more restrictive at the north and south ends of the runways because that's your takeoff and your landing areas than it is, you know, to the east and west.
This is R2 zoning. What's the maximum height, Thomas, in R2?
35 feet.
35 feet.
Yeah, and we would be at several hundred
Sorry,
feet.
30 feet. Excuse me.
30 feet. As the city, is that, do we anticipate anything within that zoning in this subdivision to have a need to be more than 30 feet?
No,
It wouldn't be able to without a
it wouldn't be able to
variance.
based off the a variance or
And that's above, that 30 feet is above the existing grade, is it not?
correct.
And Mr. Jimerson said above the mean sea level?
Mean sea level.
I
yeah.
don't understand how we determine that. I mean, do you know what the mean sea level is on this property?
We would have an engineer calculate it. We can do the calculations at the airport, but, you know, failing somebody putting up an extremely tall cell tower in the backyard, single-family resident, that the height would not be a concern.
Question, how often does the city or the airport authority reevaluate the noise zones? So we have this layout now. 10, 20 years from now, I mean, how often do we redo this and look at it again?
You know, there's not a set time for it. That the study that you have to do, and, you know, I can show you the noise corridors that we have now. The study that we have to do is very comprehensive. It is expensive, and it attempts to look, you know, 10, 20, 30 years down the road. So it's not done very often, and we don't have any present plans to do another noise study.
But this particular property to date is outside of the boundary
The
of the current noise zone map that we have.
My understanding is that the Pebble Creek Phase 4 would be outside, but for instance, the Beadle Lane rezoning, which was withdrawn and not heard tonight, that's
Correct.
definitely inside of the noise impact area.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, is there any way that we can find out this evening regarding phases 1 through 3 what the status is?
Phases 1 through 3 have been complete, as you can see from this overlay.
No, are they a part of is there a abrogation easement for phases 1 through 3?
As the map showed earlier on the
So-
screen, phases 1 through 3 are not in the zone, and phase 4 is not in the zone either.
So no, they
We
don't
need
know.
to leave it out. I mean, it's not in.
Are there any other questions? I personally have a concern that people buying houses, you know, if you've lived around here for a long time, you know where the airport is, and you know airports make noise, and I'm not sure when that study was done, but I do think that's something that we certainly should keep in mind as we move forward, that people need a way of notification.
Ms. Watson, you're correct, and so we did notify the airport about this activity on the agenda, and we'll continue to do that when we see projects coming before us and before you that could have an impact.
And the concern for the City Hall and for the administration is that we can't predict 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the road what's exactly going to be transpiring at the airport. We do intend for the airport to grow, significant development. But as it states today, this is outside of the zone. And if it's outside of the zone, then it is permissible. I think it's a challenge for residents that purchase in this area, because if activity increases and you redo another study later and suddenly it's in the zone, it's going to become a problem. But at this point in time, it's acceptable.
I have a question. Can you bring back the original map?
Yes.
Oh, the one you had before with the 3 different blocks. Yes. So the small block on the bottom left is in the noise area. Is that correct?
No, it is
It's
not.
in.
It is not.
So none of the areas highlighted are in the area.
That would be correct.
Okay.
If you can just to the right of the, just to the east of this blue line, this is the noise area, and that phase that is for layout follows my cursor, which you can barely see on the screen, unfortunately. And phase 4 is up here to the farmland, and further development is to the east of there. So, like I said, based off my assessment in the review of the plans, we notified the airport authority of this particular development, although it is outside of the boundary. Planning staff played the courtesy to notify them, and so that they can be here this afternoon or this evening.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Back to you.
PROPST subdivision, re-subdivision of East Huntsville Addition Block 98. The committee recommends relayout and re-preliminary approval on 3 lots with a waiver on the UND easement along the north side of Lot 2 to 3 feet.
Do I hear a motion? Second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
SEGERS Trail subdivision. The committee recommends relayout approval on 113 lots and preliminary approval on 57 lots with a waiver on the sidewalk along one side of the street, double-fronted lots 1 through 15, 48 through 54, and common area D.
Do I hear a motion? Discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
The Summit at Providence, forwarded without recommendation pending signature approval from Harvest Monrovia Water Authority.
Do
It
we
was
have
received.
that?
Yes, it's now in order for preliminary approval.
This is a preliminary on 2 lots.
Yes.
Move to approve.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, this is also presented for final approval on 2 lots.
Ms. Jordan, is it in order for final approval?
Yes, it's in order with sidewalks and improvements to be installed by December 20th, 2016.
Move to approve.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Moving on to location, character, and extent. The first item is pinpoints of interest. A public hearing was held.
Is there any discussion?
Just one quick question. Does this have any issues with any of the sign laws that we currently have at all? Okay.
It's in compliance.
I also had a question. I didn't get his name. I was wondering if you could.
Bob Rogers.
Bob Rogers.
Mr. Rogers, if you could. How many locations, if you could right now, could you guess you would probably have? At
Round
this?
numbers 20.
20. Who picked those locations?
We've picked them.
And there was just an insular decision, or was there a public opinion?
It has to do with where we think, first off, the bloggers would want to go, the different attractions we have and the different interesting locations. All these bloggers have different things that they like to write about: food, attraction, space, art. So we've tried to pattern things on where we think their needs and their interests would lie.
Was there ever a chance for the public, or maybe even some of these businesses, to pitch to be one of these 20? Because I mean, I think it's a great idea, but I don't know.
Other than our conversations with people day in and day out that we do with all the attractions and the hotels and things, that no, there's been no formal, we're going to come to you and ask you to do this. No.
Okay. Thank you.
I have.
They'll be here the first week of May. I think it's the 4th through the 7th of 2017.
I have a question. The text reads, "This is Lucky and he's not alone." Who is Lucky?
Lucky Duck. There's 13 Lucky Ducks. They're bronze ducks. They're located around downtown. It's like a trail where people can go find them, and then if they come to the Convention and Visitors Bureau, they'll be given a prize. Generally, it's kids and they have families that wander around downtown with it.
Okay.
You need to come try it out.
Yeah, sounds like I do.
Are there any locations in North Huntsville?
There are.
And maybe you don't. If you don't have the answer for that, I was just my curiosity. Okay.
Leslie May.
Okay.
I'm trying to think specifically of North Huntsville locations. Let me sort of explain that the convention, of course, is at the VBC, and their host hotel is the Embassy Suites.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
we sort of chose locations that they might naturally stumble upon if they were to exit their hotel and walk. So they're mainly based around the convention center and in downtown Huntsville. But then once you click to the website, they'll send you outbound to locations like Burren on the Mountain, Low Mill, the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. So, for instance, there might be one outside of Coffee Clutch that sends you to a website that then refers you to all the other locations in Huntsville that serve a Coffee Clutch inclusive product, like Susie's Pops or Pizzelle's Chocolates. So the idea is to sort of, for lack of a better word, cross-pollinate things that have something in common. But for instance, the Spaces Trail has locations on the A&M campus and all throughout the city. So there would be, it's really going to send you to almost every corner of the city is the idea.
Absolutely. And again, I think it's a wonderful idea. I just hope we can understand the notion that it has a sense of power for individuals who are going to be considered of the 20. And if my word means anything, I guess I would love to see a diversity of what places we send them, because there's certain places that aren't touristy, off the beaten path, that would be wonderful representations of what is Huntsville. So,
well, the good news about these travel bloggers is that they tend to stay in an area about 11 days. So they're going to seek out stories that are important to them. So if there are folks who are interested in history or civil rights or green space, those are the stories they're going to look for.
makes sense. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm hung up on this Lucky Duck thing. Does the sign have a duck on it? Is a visitor gonna get the duck thing?
Where this sign will be placed, if you literally were to look up, all that you will see is a bronze duck over your head.
Okay. I didn't see a depiction of the duck in your signage anywhere.
No, that's kind of the intriguing part of it, is the idea is to spur your interest. There actually is, as you exit here, the kind of pergola that is on West Side Square. There is actually a lucky duck mounted upside down inside that pergola.
Okay.
So that is where this sign is hoping to go.
Okay.
And then tell them about where it's born.
Where it's born, the cool local place where it's born would then send you to Low Mill, because those ducks were actually designed by Everett Cox at Low Mill. So this sign would both send you to the Lucky Duck Trail and to Low Mill.
Oh, one more thing. You got I punched in that website on my phone.
Uh-huh.
And it was a little cumbersome. Have you thought about putting like a QR code or something on the sign?
We have. It's sort of not as widely used a technology as it was when QR codes were first invented, and we kind of liked the "You Are Here" text. It's a placeholder right now. Huntsville.org is the Convention and Visitors Bureau website. You Are Here will just be a page on the site, which will make it easy for them to sort of bounce around to other information within the site. QR code, I'm not opposed to. I just think you should have both if you're going to have the QR code.
Unless, and then with some of the signs being large and on the ground, the QR code would be too large if you were angling to pick it up.
Unless you made it smaller.
Then you'd have to bend down.
I happen to like QR codes too, when I can get my phone to work on them. Okay. You sure?
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
And the final location
Passed,
character.
and thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. The final location, character, and extent, Alabama A&M New Residence Hall, a public hearing was held.
Did I hear, okay, I did hear a second. Discussion?
Yes. I just want a quick question. What was the proposed timeline of start to finish? And is there a potential that it be finished, like, I guess, on an exaggerated date?
I'm Brian Teals, Moody Nolan. We're looking to be completed next November, about a year from now.
Oh, okay.
So moving in January.
Thank you. That's all I was wondering.
Madam Chair, a few questions regarding this project. During committee, it was not shared with us that this would be a co-ed facility. So I do have some additional questions. Thomas, can you show us the front Meridian Street view rendering?
Yes, sir.
The sidewalk there, there is no additional streetscape design going in for that? Just be right there at the road? Is that correct?
That would be correct.
So, with the speed of traffic on Meridian Street is it 40 or 45?
40.
40. Is that right, Captain Rice? 40?
40.
Because I drive 39 down Meridian Street.
Yes, absolutely.
With additional 500 beds, so potentially 572 people in and out, and given that they will use the rear as well, those with cars, has there been any consideration to putting in some additional streetscaping on that side to buffer between the cars and students who may be walking or biking through there?
It was a consideration, but we can't hold them to anything considering that it's LC&E. There are some particular regulations that they are to abide by, and there are others that are strictly just a suggestion to the property overall.
And we did make that suggestion?
Correct.
Jared Cargill, Foresight. I'll just say, I mean, we're matching the sidewalks on that side, throughout the campus. There's not any, the traffic's got to get from here to other parts of the campus, whether it's, so just in front of this site, there's not really any, the sidewalk's a standard depth across, off the street. So there's
Correct.
not any.
However, there is no residence hall on Meridian Street that's going to now concentrate a group of people that will need access and walkability. And so now you're going to put 572 people in a building on a fairly major street who will, I'm sure most of them, if they don't drive, they will be walking or biking, and no additional streetscape buffer in between them. So if 4 people get together and walk, someone could possibly, they're going to be very close to the curb. Currently, there's nothing else on Meridian Street where students walk continuously. This would be changing that whole pattern. They'll need to cross the street to the other side of Meridian Street. That concerns me.
If I could address that real quick, Brian Shipp, Alabama A&M Department of Facilities. We do have other residence halls on Meridian. We have the Knight complex, which has roughly about 600 and some students, and we have Normal Hills apartment complex.
And neither one of them face Meridian Street. Knight Center is set off from the road. There's a parking lot in front. When students walk out, they're at the crosswalk.
Yeah, so in knowing that, one thing that we did do, because the Wellness Center is frequent by a lot of our resident students, through the back of the property, it allows a walkway for them to access the Wellness Center and other parts of the campus without having to be completely on Meridian at all times.
But then if I walk out the front of this building, and I need to get to the post office, how do I do that safely with 3 or 4 other people walking or biking? If 2 of us are biking, how do I do that safely?
I'm gonna turn that back over to him because I can't answer that.
I'm just gonna say this, you know, this is a standard sidewalk that's throughout the city. And
Correct.
There's numerous, you know, pedestrian count all over the community, so it's up to, you know, everyone to safely navigate. I don't see that we're doing anything different here, and the residence halls, the people that are walking from those others have to make it out and make it up north and south on Meridian Street. So
Are you looking more toward a traffic calming approach in that area? Because I know in big picture, Dennis Mattson really targeted this area in the future to do a traffic calming approach. Is that not correct, Michelle?
Well, and not just traffic calming, but something, even if they put, you know, some landscaping, some, you know, trees, and then the sidewalk in between the students and the road.
Well, I will say one thing related to trees and the sidewalk. We'd have to push those further out because at this speed, traffic's not going to want us to have, you know, those trees within 6-8 feet of the curb. So it's going to mean moving all of that further. So from a practical standpoint, we can't really get trees that close to the street.
Is there, how much grassy area is there between the curb and the sidewalk? None?
No, there is none.
There are some places that there's none, but right here,
The color photo. The parking's in the back.
I'm going to say, looking at it, this is the curb line out here, and this is the edge of the sidewalk.
This open area is sidewalk,
So
and
I'm
this
gonna say that
SS area is what?
That's right, there's sanitary sewer that's running here, which is what that line is. But look at, if it's a 5-foot sidewalk, it looks like about 5 feet.
Wait a minute. What looks like about 5 feet between?
This is the edge of the sidewalk right here, and this is the back of the curb right here. So this is the sidewalk.
On top
And
of the
then
sanitary sewer
No,
or
it's-
over here?
It's over here, it's outside. So this is the grass space.
Okay,
on
so
this
there
side
is a,
too. So there is some
what is
space.
that, about 3
I would
feet?
say, well,
4 feet?
sidewalk's 5 feet, so it's 4 or 5 feet. And down here, it looks to be a little further than that. There's curb, back of curb right there, and then sidewalk back here.
Did you see that?
I understand it. I'm just not
yeah.
comfortable with it. I know this is an LCNE, but
Mr. Cargill,
I'm not comfortable with this.
is there, and I know we're late in the process to talk about this, but let's say here's the front of the building, and you've got no room to move it back a few feet.
Well, I mean, again, if we're concerned about the sidewalk and this buffer, then it's not just this part in front of the site we'd have to change. There's hundreds of feet of sidewalk to the north of
Well,
this and south.
yeah,
of
but you're
this.
not building those. You're just building. This is
Well,
what we're
this
considering.
is existing sidewalk here, so this is existing. We're not building.
You're not doing that, okay.
We're replacing a piece here. This is new sidewalk here. So,
There is no crosswalk list.
not right here. It would be south of this, so. You have to go to the next intersection. Yeah, so you go south, so you would go.
You have a dead student.
Down there or up to the north, and there's a resident hall that crosses up there. Private space on the north.
Go ahead and answer my question. I have an additional question that I would like to propose. Pull back out just a little bit. With 500 new parking spaces there, with the potential of 500, I guess. Well, 500 beds? Is that what I heard? Is that correct? 572. So you've got those cars there. That's a lot of traffic. Well, it's difficult right now trying to get onto that road. If you were to, you've got Chase that's right there that's got a light, and then you're going to put a dormitory right there. It's going to be very difficult for those students coming, cars coming from the north and south to get onto that road. Is there any traffic study being done to look at putting a light there or something to ease that ability?
Hey, Mr. Matthews, we're going to get with our traffic department and look at the speed in general. the speed limit, maybe reducing the speed limit, looking at traffic options for slowing traffic down through this area. With more students on the street, I think we need to look at that and maybe slow it down. So we're going to work with our traffic engineer to evaluate this, put some speed counters and tables out there to look and see what our numbers are and see if it's something we need to reduce.
Well, you answered part of my question, Mr. Cargill, but my real question was, is there room to shift the building back? Not whether you'd have to redo the sidewalk if you.
Well, there's certainly room. I mean, the university owns, this is all university property. It's pushed back a little bit further, I think, than some of the buildings already, so it's a matter of future development and what's appropriate. So the building setback is not what really is influencing anything that we're doing out there with the sidewalk. Again, we're, for the most part, connecting to the existing sidewalk, other than where we're having to replace a piece of it, where a drive's being relocated.
It seems that the issue we're talking about is bigger than just this site. And what we would be doing, if anything, on this site wouldn't really solve a bigger problem all along this street. A&M, they own the property from Chase Road all the way to, is that Galloway? I can't see that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
North to industrial.
Okay. So A&M could, in theory, provide additional buffer there, but they would need to do it all along this corridor in order to address your concern. So I think doing something, to this property, it wouldn't solve the problem. Because
Right,
it's in the middle of the
staff-
block. You got to get to the intersection to cross. I agree that it's, I was, just a little story. I was on L&N the other morning at 6 a.m. and there was 3 ladies walking, and one of them had been hit by a car. And they were doing stupid stuff. They were walking in the dark with they were wearing all black, and the lady that hit them didn't have her headlights on. So stupid stuff that was happening there. But there's a lot of people on that street, and I think your concern is valid, but I think it would be A&M's best interest to do the work as a separate project to solve that all along this corridor.
And not even changing the current sidewalk, but perhaps making unless you're the architect, a U shape in front there so that the students then still walk, but that buffer doesn't move the sidewalk. You kind of have that curve in front of the building that makes that buffer, and this way you don't move the sidewalk.
Ms. Watson, if I may, the university and the city have been in discussions about really Meridian's connection to the campus, and understanding that with the campus growing, to the other side of Meridian, that some discussions on how we make things safer for students, other pedestrians using this corridor, and motorists going up and down Meridian safer and better. Those conversations do need to happen, and we're more than happy to sit down with university officials in the future as the campus continues to grow. So if you would allow us to do that, Mr. Shipp and I have already been in discussions about partnerships in the future. We'll commit to sitting down with university officials and figuring out, if it's speed limits that need to be reevaluated, if it's crosswalks that need to be installed, we'll certainly commit to meeting with the university and figuring those future aspects out.
Thank you. And this is LC&E, so in the end, we're in an advisory capacity
Correct.
on this, but that has been, I think, our function tonight is to see something that is of concern to this panel that we'd like the university and the city to address going forward.
All the discussion is valid, even though we're doing LC&E. But I do have a question for Mr. Shipp in reference to the Bulldog Transit system, the busing system. Where will the buses pick the students up from this facility to take them to the classes across the street?
The buses will go and enter into the parking lot into the back of the building. Most of everything, all of the student traffic is going to be funneled to the back of the building and not to the front of the building.
Wonderful.
Because that's where we have the courtyards and everything like that located. So they would go into the parking lot, pull around the back, and funnel students out onto the bus, to the transit system from there.
Okay, all right. And just for the record, as far as a representative from the Huntsville Police Department, I have been in conversation with Mr. Dan Sanders from our traffic engineering. I have had concerns for a while about the speed limit on Meridian Street between Industrial and Chase. From a law enforcement perspective, and the majority of my career has been in traffic enforcement, I would like to see that speed limit lowered in that particular area. Especially if we're putting 500 more students on this busy roadway. So just for the record, I just want that to be stated.
Thank you.
How many parking spaces were there?
I think it's 232.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. The motion passes. Our next item is zoning.
Yes, ma'am.
Hillary, would you give us the zoning report?
Yes, ma'am. The zoning committee met on December the 14th, and the following are our recommendations. Item 1, MAHAFFEY rezoning. The public hearing was held.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 2 is Davis Circle rezoning. The public hearing was held.
Move to approve.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 3 is BOMAN zoning. The public hearing was held.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is thank you, Les. Our next item is invocation and extension of bonds. Michelle Jordan?
Yes, Ms. Watson, staff recommends the invocation of items 1 and 2.
Move to approve.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for being here, and
Ms. Watson,
Oh.
may I?
yes.
Bittersweet news on our behalf. We did receive in writing that Ms. Watson, our chair, will be resigning from the Planning Commission effective December 31st. And we're so grateful to your service to the city, to your service to this commission.
Thank you.
And are just looking forward to seeing you. You already said you might come and visit us from time to time.
Of course. I'm
Why
gonna
on
sit
earth
with
you
Miss
would do
Reed.
that to yourself, I don't know. But we'll certainly look forward to seeing you in the audience. But really just want to say thank you. And I think I'd speak on behalf of all the planning commissioners. Job well done, and we wish you well in the future, and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure serving, and it's been a pleasure serving with all the people that work at the city and all the people who are on this board and the people that I have, the person that I have yet to get acquainted with. Thank you very much, and happy holidays to everyone, and please stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Watson.
Meeting adjourned.